Hello children, today's topic of our session is a new chapter which we are starting is Animal Kingdom. Now this Animal Kingdom chapter will be quite interesting because you will come across many of the topics and many of the words which you are familiar with, a little bit more detail added to it. So you will not find the chapter like it's coming out of a blue moon, something very much new is coming to you, but yes, some things in detail will be coming and it will be really interesting to know all of them. So let's start the chapter Animal Kingdom. The first thing in this particular chapter what you have to study is on what basis, on what criteria the animals, which are millions of them in the whole world, are classified. Now you cannot study each and every organism individually. So they have to be grouped into certain categories based on certain criteria. And some general criteria which you can see in the slide based on which the animals are classified are: First one, level of organization of cells, body symmetry, nature of coelom, body plan, pattern of development, segmentation of the body, presence or absence of notochord. Let us look at each and every criteria one by one. The first one, level of organizations of this cell. Now what does this mean is in which form an organism is present in the nature, meaning whether an organism is at a cellular level or cells organized together in a tissue level, or tissue organized together in an organ level, or organs present together in an organ system. So the first level of organization is called as cellular level, where different cells are arranged in a pattern and they look like an organism, but each and every cell, they are independent of each other. Basically there is no division of work, division of labor is seen. This is a example in case of Porifera. Now we will be going in detail when we study Porifera, but what happens in case of Porifera, the Porifera, they are some vase shaped organisms, and once you cut this poriferans, inside it you will find a cavity which is called as spongicoil. What is it? How is it formed? That's all we are going to study further. But that particular cavity is lined by many different types of cells. Some can be amoebocytes, some of them pinocytes, some of them cenocytes. Now all these cells, they have different functions and they are not interdependent on each other. So an organism, that is the first, you can see even the photograph also here. They are the organisms where cells are present together but they are not dependent on each other. Such kind of organization is called as cellular level of organization. When we talk about tissue level of organization, tissue level of organization means cells are grouped together into a tissue and a very slight division of labor is observed. Here we have an example of Ctenophora, Ctenophorans, and Cnidaria or Coelenterata. Coelenterata, you can see the hydra on the right hand side of the diagram, and towards the left hand side in the second series you can see a diagram of Ctenophora. Here the diagram is comb jellies. We will look into it when we are going to study each and every category separately. Organ level means tissue organized to form organs which specialize for the particular function. Now here in case of organ level, like in case of platyhelminthes we have an example of planaria. We have an example of liver fluke. These are the organisms which have organs. They do not have a system like in case of human being. We have a whole digestive system, we have a whole circulatory system. On the contrary, these organisms, they have some organs present in their body, and naturally we know organs are made up of tissues. So these organs, they perform a particular function alone. They are not associated with the whole system. They will perform function individually. So a level high, when you see evolutionary wise, cellular level is least developed, then comes the tissue level, now comes the organ level. If we move ahead, The next category comes is organ system level. Now organ system is much better, where different organs, they come together, though individually they will be performing some separate function, but ultimately together they will be performing a same physiological function. Something like if you talk about digestion, our mouth performs some separate function, alimentary canal performs some another function, that is esophagus performs another function, stomach performs another function, small intestine performs another function, but if you group them together, they are performing one physiological function, that is called as digestion. So such kind of level of organization is the highest level of organization, which is called as organ system level. I'm just reading the slide. Here organs become associated for performing a specific physiological function. Example, Annelida, Mollusca, Echinodermata, etc. When we move ahead, there are different organs in the body. Just now we had to talk about it. But some complexities are also seen among the organ system. Here you can have an example. One of them is circulatory system. Now, in some of the organisms, we have open type of circulatory system, and another one we have closed type. What's the difference between them? Open circulatory system means blood is not flowing into the blood vessels. On the contrary, the blood is filled up into the whole body. That is, the blood is filled up into the cavity of the body. So all the organs, they are actually dipped into the blood. They are actually in direct contact with the blood. Blood doesn't reach them, they are present in the blood. So such kind of circulatory system, we call them as open circulatory system. But when we talk about closed circulatory system means the blood comes from the heart, it goes to the arteries, then goes to the capillaries, again comes back from the vein back to the heart. So whole of the system is an enclosed system. It is a system of vessels. It is a system of pipes. So blood is not moving, it's not filled up everywhere. It is running in tubes. Such kind of system is called as closed circulatory system. Another example is digestive system. Now here you can see the right up here, complete digestive system and incomplete digestive system. Very simple one. When we talk about complete digestive system, means an organism should have two openings in the digestive system. One for ingestion, you can see the lower diagram here, and other one from egestion. So mouth and anus should be present, and if that is there, then an organism will have complete digestive system. Incomplete digestive system, when only one opening is there for ingestion as well as for egestion. You can have an example here when we are talking about platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes, they have only one opening in their body for ingestion, for taking in of the food and giving out of the undigested food material. So incomplete type of digestive system. Let's move ahead. Body symmetry. Now this particular thing is a repetition. You must have heard about it. Body symmetry means how an externally, morphologically, an organism is described. Now, it can be two types, symmetrical or asymmetrical. Symmetrical means if through one plane, if you can divide an organism into two parts, or more than one plane, which necessarily should pass from the center of an organism, you can divide an organism into two parts. So what's the condition for the symmetrical body symmetry? Is that the organism should be divided into two parts, either by one plane, or it should be divided into two parts by many planes, but the condition is that plane should pass through the center of the organism. Based on that, symmetrical body symmetry is two types, bilateral and another one is radial. You can see in the diagram where you have the diagram of this fly. This is bilateral symmetry. Bilateral means only a single plane which is passing through the center of the organism can divide the organism approximately in two parts. If you think that you can divide the organism into two parts by passing that line horizontally, no. So here only one plane can divide the organism into two parts. So that is called as bilateral symmetry. Towards your left hand side, the diagram of starfish is given. Now starfish, you can divide the whole starfish into two parts by passing the plane through center, and as many as, if you count, they can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines can pass through the center of the starfish, dividing the starfish into two parts. So that is called as radial symmetry or radially symmetrical. So symmetrical body symmetry is two types: bilateral symmetry and radial symmetry. Second one is asymmetrical, as simple as that, that organism cannot be divided into any two equal parts by any of the planes. Here the example you can see is, the first one is sponges. Now sponges, they are vase shaped structures and they just grow randomly inside the water. So none of the plane can divide these organisms into two equal parts. So they are called as asymmetrical structure. Even amoeba also comes into it because it keeps on changing its structure. So you cannot, at any moment of time, you cannot divide that organism into two parts. Let's move ahead. Coelom. That is nature of coelom. Coelom is a cavity, the space between the body wall and the gut wall where all the organs of the body are placed. Now coelom means, this diagram you can make out, the outer skin part is the body wall and the gut wall means the walls of different organs which are present in between. So they will be enclosed into a thin membranous structure. So that membranous structure and the outer layering of the body, there is a gap between it. That small gap, in our case, in the human beings, it is filled with mucilage fluid. That gap is actually called as coelom. But to understand what is coelom, let us move ahead and we go and understand this particular diagram. Before we study what is true coelomate, what is eucoelomate, or what is pseudocoelomate or acoelomate, let's understand how actually the coelom originates. Now, first thing, when the gametes, they fuse together, the resultant product is what? It is zygote. Zygote is a single celled structure. Now this single celled zygote will start dividing and it will grow into a ball of cells. That ball of cells initially can be called as morula, then it can be called as blastula. They will be increased, the cells will keep on dividing and that ball of cell will keep on increasing. When this ball of cells reach a stage called as blastula, they will be having, or you can say there will be a kind of a cavity present inside it. You can see in the first diagram that is showing blastula. Now in this blastula, towards the lower side, the cells of the blastula starts moving towards inward side of that cavity. So that particular cavity which was present inside the blastula, cells towards the outer part, they will start invading inside. It is shown here with the yellow color. So once the cells are invading inside, that cells themselves will have a cavity inside themselves that is called as blastopore. Then towards you can see towards that yellow color plug like structure, there small red color dots are shown. Those are mesoderm initials. What is mesoderm? How it's going to function? Just wait, we will study just now. Once the cells are moving towards inner side, the cavity is formed inside, that is called as blastopore, which is shown with the yellow color here, and mesoderm initials are going to develop on the either sides of this invading cells. Third diagram you can see, this mesoderm which was initial in the second stage, in the third stage they have grown up into a little you can say line of cells, and they themselves inside are enclosing a cavity. and this cavity is called as coelom. So in the fourth diagram, you can see the mesoderm cell is very well developed. The invasion of the cell, which was shown from the yellow color, has been completed. So the formation of towards the upper side, the formation of anus can be seen, and towards the lower side, mouth formation is then. And with the red color dot, you can see those pouch-like structures which are formed here. They are complete. They are not. They do not have segmentations in between. So such cavity which this red color cells are enclosing in themselves, that is called as coelom. So body cavity is always lined by mesodermal cells because they are formed from the mesodermal cells. They are formed from the splitting of the mesodermal cells. So in an organism, if true cavity is present like this, which you can see in the fourth step, where it is lined by the mesodermal cell, that is called as true cavity or true coelom, and the organisms are called as eucoelomate. In some organisms, if this particular cavity is not formed, mesoderm doesn't give rise, mesoderm is not there only, so the cavity will be not formed there. So such kind of organism, they are called as acoelomate. You can see in this diagram. Yeah, the examples are Platyhelminthes. These organisms do not have any kind of mesoderm originated coelom, as we have seen in our first diagram when we were discussing about it. In some of the organism, like in this case when we are talking about these organisms, they have mesoderm cells present, but there is no continuous cavity. On the contrary, mesoderms are present in the pouch-like form. Like I'm reverting the slide. You can see in the fourth diagram, the mesoderm is complete. You have two coelom present here, which can be joined together, and it is totally complete coelom is present. But by default, if this mesoderm remains in condition of this third stage itself, pouch form, and many other pouches are formed like that, then it will get converted into a pseudocoelomate like structure. Pseudocoelomate means they do not have any kind of complete coelom, and the coelom is not lined by like mesoderm all throughout. In between, endoderm cells also intrude in it. Now what is endoderm, what is mesoderm? Let us look forward once we are moving the slide. Just now, if true coelom is present, it will be lined by mesodermal cells, so coelomate. If they are present in pouch form, that is pseudocoelomate, and if it is not present, it is called as acoelomate. Let's move ahead. Little understanding of it. In sponges, body cavity is derived from blastocoel and it is called as spongocoel. Meaning, I'm just reverting back the slide. This invading second diagram, if you can see, this invading yellow color plug-in was having a cavity inside. So if a cavity in an organism has developed from this blastopore, which you can label it, see in the diagram, the first series, second part, blastopore, then that type of, if it is formation is there, that happens in case of sponges. So that cavity is called as spongocoel. In Coelenterata also, this blastopore only has given rise to a cavity that is called as blastocele. That blastocele cavity is there, that has given rise to a cavity for the Coelenterata. Here you have in the second diagram, you can see that's a diagram of Hydra. So Coelenterata is having a cavity which is called as coelentron. The cavity inside the Hydra is called as coelentron, and from where it has been derived? It has derived from the blastopore, which you have seen in the previous diagram. In Arthropoda, blastocele does not disappear completely and is associated with reduced coelom, which is filled with body fluid, hemolymph, and it is called as hemocoelom. It is called as hemocele. Meaning in this case, when we talk about Arthropoda category, they have got the presence of blastopore, which is not completely disappeared. So they have the body cavity, but this body cavity gets mixed up with this blastopore or blastocele formation. and ultimately the whole of the body is filled up with the fluid. It is having an open circulatory kind of system, so that fills up with the body fluid, and that body fluid is called as hemolymph. And the body cavity is having hemolymph, so cavity means coelom, and they are having the fluid in it, so it will be called as hemocoel. Containing, hemocoel means a coelom containing the fluid inside it. So that is present in case of arthropoda. A little differentiation when we are talking about coelomate organisms. Along with other structures which we have discussed, let us discuss one more thing, that is body plan. Body plan, again, cell aggregates means the cells are present. That's what we were discussing in the first part of the basis of classification, where the organisms have number of cells but they are not grouped into tissues or organs, and there is no division of labor observed. For example, in case of sponges. When we talk about blind sac plan, here again the same thing is repeated. If only one opening is there for ingestion and egestion, it becomes like a sac, only opening from one side. So that is also a kind of a body plan. Tube within a tube means where two openings are present, one for ingestion and one for egestion. So what is happening? An outer covering is there, tubular form, and inner tube is also there. So tube within a tube. We have like human beings are having this kind of tube within a tube plan. You can imagine the skin part of the body being the outer tube, and other organ system of our body, they're all in a tubular form. They're all in an enclosed form. None of the system of our body is an open platform. It is just a if you can imagine digestive system is also a tubular form. You have mouth, you have esophagus, and then stomach, and then the small intestine, large intestine, all tubular in nature. When you talk about the circulatory system, all tubular in nature. So tube within a tube plan, where the outer skin is there and then the whole alimentary canal is again a kind of a tubular form, and two openings are there, one for ingestion, other for egestion. So that is also a type of a body organization. This pattern of development we will take in our next lecture, so we move ahead a bit for it. Now we come down to the germinal layers. Germinal layer means, now we'll understand what is ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. If you remember the previous diagram, when we were talking about a zygote being a single cell and then developing into a ball of cells, that is morula, then blastula, and in case of blastula, they have got number of cells present inside. So once from one side the cell will start invading you. If you are remembering the diagram, that you can see here also a yellow color, a plug like structure going inside it up. So the outermost layer of that blastula is actually called as ectoderm, and the innermost, that plug-in which is formed, you can see in the diagram. In first diagram, that's yellow full circle, and here it is plugging, it is going inwards. So that will be termed as endoderm, and this red colored pouch which will finally grow into a coelom, which we have discussed previously, that is called as mesoderm. So there are three germ layers: ectoderm, the outermost, endoderm, the inner one, and in between them, that is the mesoderm. If all the three are present in an organism's development, you can see the third part. Animals with three germinal layers at gastrula level, the endoderm, mesoderm and ectoderm, they are called as triploblastic organisms. All chordates are triploblastic. But out of these three, only two are present. If only ectoderm and endoderm is present, then an organism is called as diploblastic organism. In some cases, this red color mesoderm is not developing, or it will not develop. Instead, between ectoderm and endoderm, there is a kind of a jelly-like structure is present, that is called as mesoglia. In case of mesoglia, they can be they are jelly-like structures. So you don't have cellular structures present in them. So, and it is present between the endoderm and the ectoderm. So here it will be considered as diploblastic organism only, but little modification part is present. So for today's lecture, we will be ending it here. Other 2-3 points which are remaining for the basis of classification, we will discuss in our next session. Let us have a look at a video at this point for the better understanding.